Hey, it's actually Zerial patch notes. Whoa, these are short, no? Wow, these are so short. These are definitely the shortest patch notes we've ever had. Oh no! Why the fuck don't they nerf ED? I hate that. What?
No.
I'm not playing ED. I won't do it. But maybe. Let's get it. These are pretty short. Added a vendor recipe for a special support gem. Good luck. Oh! Elemental penetration is a thing. We know what this is. Intensity now has a maximum of 3 from 4. We know about this, but it still retains its power, by the way. And there's also apparently more scaling for it than just the the 2 points on the skill tree. Additions to the number of curses you can inflict on enemies apply cumulatively to both hexes and marks, but do not modify the number of enemies you can have marked at any given time. Oh, okay, yeah. You can have an enemy that is affected by both mark and a hex, but you can't mark an enemy with 2 marks, nor you can mark 2 different enemies. Yep. Assassin's Mark. Enemies afflicted with Assassin's Mark will always grant a power charge with significant amount of life and mana when slain. No longer causes cursed enemies to take extra damage from critical strikes. Whoa! Cursed enemies now have a 100% chance to grant a power charge when slain. Whoa! Hits against cursed enemies now have 1.5 to critical strike chance at all gem levels. Hits against cursed enemies now have a 30% to critical multiplier at gem level 1 up to 49 at gem level 20. Cursed enemies now grant 65 life when killed. Up to 600 at gem level 20? Holy shit. I mean, this is a single enemy that you're affecting this with, though. Now causes cursed enemies to have a 1% chance to grant a power charge when hit. Oh, per 4% gem quality. Wow. Chance to grant power charges when hit. That's pretty cool. 5%. I mean, damn. It's pretty impactful. Poacher's Mark. Life gain on hit at gem level 20. Cursed enemies now grant 25 mana when hit by attacks at gem level 20. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's too bad it's attacks though. I mean, it would be OP otherwise. Pretty good. It's pretty good. Now adds 6 to 9 physical damage to hits against cursed enemies at gem level 1. What level is Poacher's Mark? 24? Up to 30 to 45 at gem level 20. Wow, that's a big number. Cursed enemies now have minus 20 to physical damage reduction at all gem levels. Damn. Now causes cursed enemies to have 1% chance to grant frenzy charge when hit per 4% gem quality. So same thing. Nice. Alright, Sniper's Mark. We don't know anything about this one. Previously named projectile weakness. Enemies afflicted by Sniper's Mark grant charges to life and mana flask when hit. And causes projectiles that hit them to split towards other enemies. Whoa! No longer causes projectiles to pierce or knock back cursed enemies. Cursed enemies now take 16% increased damage for projectile hits at gem level 1 up to 35 at gem level 20. And these are not mitigated on bosses anymore, by the way, marks. So straight up 35%, and you can scale it with additional things on the skill tree. Cursed enemies now grant a life flask charge and a mana flask charge when you hit them. What? This thing is nuts. When you hit them with anything? Projectile? This only applies to hits from sources of the mark and not, for example, your minions. Yeah. Projectiles which hit cursed enemies. Projectiles which hit cursed enemies now split towards 3 additional targets at gem level 1 up to 4 additional targets at gem level 20? What the fuck? This thing is crazy. Cursed enemies now take 1% increased damage from projectile hits per 4% gem quality. 5% more damage. Damn, Sniper's Mark is really good. I mean, I wonder how much they've given us on the skill tree for actually scaling marks, but... Woo! These are crazy. All right, Lancing Steel. Lancing Steel now fires a sequence of projectiles when you attack and fire more projectiles based on the number of steel shards consumed by the attack. Enemies can be hit by multiple projectiles from the same attack, but subsequent hits after the first deal less damage. Oh, no! Now consumes up to 4 steel shards and fires 50% more projectiles per steel shard consumed. That's why he was using a two-hander. It's definitely not bad. Absolutely not. But the single target's kind of... The purpose of it is to essentially release 4 shards of attacks and then recast. 4 shards, recast. 4 shards, shards, recast. And that's the single target, which makes sense. It's like 870% damage with a single attack with 60% less. Lancing Steel should be good. I don't know. I mean, no matter what, it's gonna be strong. I'm not 100% on single target. I'm gonna have to do some math. Shattering Steel now fires a number of projectiles simultaneously, which shatter after colliding with an enemy or after traveling a short distance up to a maximum of 6, which grants 4% chance to block attack projectiles per steel charge. Attack projectiles, bitch? You said this is gonna give us block. You didn't say it's gonna give us block attack projectiles. Cringe, GGG. What the fuck? I don't like that at all. That's a pretty... I was like, man, that's a really interesting take. Debated. I mean, it's better to have than not to have. Let's see. Now has a 40% chance to impale enemies on the hit. Why the fuck does this have 20? Hello? See, this is what I was expecting here. This is fair. I like this. Why is this? Shattering Steel looks really strong. And on certain bosses, it's gonna be like insane damage because you can actually shotgun with this. But I think there's some like positioning errors with it, so I don't know. It doesn't seem like the spread is modifiable. It's just that if something's pushed up against the wall, then yeah. Firestorm. Firestorm now calls down a large meteor that impacts the target location, followed by a series of smaller impacts at set intervals over the storm's duration. Now has a mana cost of 13 at gym level 1, up to 25? What? What is this? Why is that so much? That's ridiculous. This seems so bad. Am I crazy? I need the video. I mean, I don't know how much it's overlapping, because if it like Omega overlaps, then it's still pretty alright, but the mana cost is so high, and then I thought the initial impact is going to be much juicier than this. It's still Firestorm. Some of these attacks look so weak, and some of them look so strong. Like, basically all of this looks really weak. This one looked terrible. This one looked strong. These ones looked really strong. That one looked insanely strong. This one looks Omega strong. This one was crazy. I mean, I guess it's still Firestorm, but the overlap is going to play a big function, so we'll see how it ends up working out with damage. I was kind of hoping that there's going to be some ignite potential, though, and it's totally not there. Too bad. Still, looks like a lot of fun, no matter what. Okay, just so we're 100% clear. I'm saying that this ability is not like ridiculously broken from just these numbers, but it's got the potential to be really strong depending on how the AoE functions. By no means am I saying that this is a weak ability. It is most definitely not weak. Glacial Cascade. It's 350 to 530, and now it's 27 to 311. So I'm assuming that it's overlapping more, but I don't know how much. Like, it's so hard to tell. And how much AoE scaling do you need? What are the breakpoints that we're looking at? I don't know. Again, it's hard to think that you would have a problem with single target with these sort of abilities. And the reach is really crazy, and the AoE seems really good, and the explosion is nice, and even the knockback might play a factor. Discharge now has has a larger base area of effect. It's 30. It's the size of an ice nova, which I still think is the biggest one. But it's got more now, apparently. Which is weird, because from the video it didn't look like more. So that's good news. Now has an added damage effectiveness of 450? Man, they sure did a good job making Discharge look like shit in that one video, because this looks crazy. What's the cooldown? It's like 3 seconds. This looks completely nuts. I mean, it's doing 9 times the damage. I don't understand. And it's higher AoE. And it scales the AoE too. I mean, the reality is, there's a threshold jewel which removes this cooldown for players who seek a discharge playstyle similar to the older version of the spell. Even if this cuts your damage in half, which is most likely what it's gonna do, because there's still a cost to generating charges this fast, it's still insane. Base radius is larger. It had a 30, so I'm assuming that it's probably gonna be like 36. Plus, built-in 20% per charge. I mean, you're gonna hit the whole fucking screen with this bitch. And then on top of it, you're gonna proliferate for like another 25 radius outside of that. Like, that's literally a screen and a half, you know? That's a fucking big AoE. And I'm talking without investment. Just by default. Ball Lightning now has a base radius of 18 from 22. Now deals 3 to 48, from 3 to 57, up to 22 to 426, from 28 and 533. I wouldn't say that's a slight nerf at all, GGG. I mean, honestly, for hardcore, that hurts. For softcore, I mean, it's still a fucking crazy ability. It's still really strong, you know? It's just the sort of skill that scales and scales and scales. So yeah, it might have gotten nerfed for single target, and it might have gotten nerfed for clear now too. But I still don't think it's a weak skill at all. But it's definitely also not a slight nerf. Pretty surprising. Patch notes roundup. Discharge is absolutely a not noteworthy buff. It's huge. Everything mark, everything hex. We need to see the doom numbers, but it's looking pretty good. Obviously Firestorm potential, obviously Glacial cascade potential. And other than that, everything got nerfed, which is a buff to ED. So the biggest winner in all of this is buff. Ball Lightning got nerfed pretty significantly. But yeah, it's not a big deal because it's still OP. And then Whispering Ice is going to need to be built completely differently, but it's probably the biggest nerf in the history of Path of Exile for people who scaled with duration, but nobody played that anyway, so who cares? Pillslinger isn't that impactful. And that's really just about it. Not a whole lot of changes. Obviously, the steel skills are looking really spicy. We're gonna have to do some damage calculations on Lancing Steel, but it's looking pretty fucking good. Especially the helmet enchant. It's gonna be nice. Yep, definitely a very fun patch to try out new things. I am most looking forward to a flashback of Discharge. Just because it's so fucking, seems so OP, you know? It's just way too much fun. And then yeah, the Lancing Steel. Or Steel skills in general, but primarily Lancing Steel. I think it fits my playstyle super well. If you are able to just play with it and the Call of Steel, yeah, that would be super fun, you know? And then the same old, a bunch of Archmage shit. Yeah, Spellslinger wasn't nerfed that badly. I'm surprised about the top end change, but in a lot of ways it got buffed with the alternate quality, so it's definitely fair. Scree assumed there's gonna be 2 or 3 minutes of Ascendancy changes. You fool. They did nothing. I mean, they did a little bit. They're fair changes, but nothing particularly eventful. I'm surprised about the lack of Trickster. But that's really just about the only thing that we can talk about. I mean, we don't know anything about the alternate quality uniques other than the ones that they've shown us. I don't think it's an alternate quality. Alternate uniques. And then nothing else got changed other than some wording reworks, right? Like, what really was there? There's just nothing. Usually there's a bunch of shit, but there's really nothing. There's more life regen on items now. Pog. TLDR of Xana changes. It's really whatever, honestly. The The Delivery makes sense for Trade League. The Blight is kind of really weird because just run a Blighted map, lol. What's the big deal? You buy them for 5 chaos if it's a T16 anyway. Return of Beyond, always welcome. Nemesis, I mean, kind of a necessary mod at this point. And then Bloodlines at Abyss is really cool. Kind of necessary mods as well, especially Abyss ends up being really fun for SSF specifically. Domination is always welcome, but it probably could have been filled in by a better spot, something like Legion or Metamorph, but obviously you can't keep it at such a low level. Yeah, I think if you're a Trade League guy, you're gonna enjoy these quite a bit. And again, Beyond to me is always a lot of fun. GGG Miss Trickster and Essence Drain, but that's not something that affects the player base at vast, but definitely something that I think they should have affected. I think they took the completely wrong approach to balancing block. Didn't address the biggest issues that it's got, but they also moved it on the skill tree, so I don't know. Regular block is very cringe. I don't like it as a mechanic, and hopefully it's going to be changed soon, or some form of an entropy system would be good since it doesn't synergize with armor the way evasion does, which I think is a much better system with dodge and evasion on top of dodge not actually having a downside, but block does through getting stunned and all this sort of shit. Overall, nothing game changing I would say that they missed out on that I can in particular remember. If you're a conversion fan, then you kind of got fucked over, but those are hyper specific builds, I would say. Yeah, I think the biggest surprise is really the Discharge juice. It's like 9 times the damage. It's like, what the fuck? Not that it was playable before, it was pretty trash, but yeah. Discharge is really good, marks are really good. Hexes have the potential to be really good. I didn't think that they're gonna go all out like that. I'm a little bit surprised about the power of marks overall. Because when I played the Death Mark, which is now called something else, but it was the point at something and your minions kill a thing, I didn't like it. Yeah, it was not enjoyable. Like pointing at a single mob and then for your mobs to attack it is like an extra thing, but then you had to do it because those mobs would take extra damage. You can still apply them automatically on rare mobs and uniques, so yeah. It's just so strong, you know, 20% more damage for Death Mark. Yeah, that's cool. Fucking 150% or however much you're gonna be able to get with all of these new marks or revamped marks, because you have scaling for them on top of some of them being really ridiculous, like Punishment and Punishment. Sniper's Mark is crazy, Poacher's Mark is crazy. I mean, Assassin's Mark is pretty alright too. And again, all of them are scalable besides these numbers. Overall patch, unsurprising. I think it's the most filler patch that we've had in a very long time, but it's also adding like a tremendous amount of really cool gems and a bunch of reworks to mechanics that I've been personally really looking forward to, especially the Intensify system with the Pinpoint, I think it's called. Yeah, that's just the ultimate 5-head thing that GGG's ever done, and I will probably never stop creaming myself over it. And I thought they're not gonna beat themselves since they introduced brands and how they work mechanically, but now they took an old system and updated it to something that's way better. Yeah, I've always looked forward to that. Staging abilities by essentially changing their effects is so much more interesting if it's intertwined with other systems that are already widely available in the game.